And it's time to go into what could be the last game of the night, with right now HasuObs leading the series 2-0. And look at the good luck, have fun from Hasu, and just to have fun from ThorZain. He doesn't want any luck to go to his opponent. Let's see if that strategy pans out for him. In the top right corner, on Team Evil Geniuses and the champion of WCS Sweden, it is EG.ThorZain.
And down in the bottom left side, Day9 has mentioned their friends. Day9 has said he loves being passive, which is mostly what we've seen. Even in the last game, yeah, it was a shorter game, but the build is still like, well, I'm not going to do anything for the first 15 minutes, so I'm just going to sit back and defend. It is going to be HasuObs, currently up 2-0 in this series. If you are just tuning in, I know I say this a lot, but there has been some ridiculous games so far. I would say the first and second series have been my favorite so far in the games we've been casting here, as they both... I'll just say there's a lot of games involved in both of those, so definitely go check those out in the VODs. You can follow TeamLiquid, of course, on Twitter at TeamLiquidNet. It's not .net, it's Twitter, so at TeamLiquidNet, and also on YouTube, youtube.com/TeamLiquidNet. They do have a lot of the recaps there, so if you missed any of the games, like yesterday's, for example, Day9, you were casting those with DJ Wheat. So definitely, guys, go check it out.
And, of course, I'd like to note that I will be doing the Day9 Daily tonight on whatever TSL game you would like. But feel free to give me a tweet at Day9TV if you have any requests from this series, any of the Dark Force series, Beastie Cutie versus Sting, or of course the Teja Bishu games we began with. Send them requests my way at Day9TV.
I'm just waiting for the people to request like that 3-minute Marauder proxy, and you're like, well, that's the shortest Day9 Daily ever. But regardless, I'm kind of curious as usual to see exactly how the openings shape up for both of these players. Are they going to go macro? Are they going to do some sort of ridiculous build? Right now, Hasu's trying to go the anti-ridiculous build by scouting actually every proxy location I've ever seen ever. If you take a look at where that probe is scouted, he's actually the only spot that hasn't been scouted is the very corner of his base and on the low ground by the ramp. And he's even swinging around to scout all those out, make sure nothing's going to take him by surprise. And indeed, it is not. And he actually spent all that time scouting and is not even going to scout the main base, as he's just worried about a proxy.
I think that's actually quite wise, because ThorZain in a lot of the mousesports Team League games used to cheese regularly when he was on under the gun. He would almost always be doing a proxy 2 barracks in the middle of the map, but ThorZain looks like he knows a little bit better than to do that against his teammate. Is going once again back to his ultra standard. Will probably just build the second barracks, 2 more geysers, and do the exact same thing again, saying, you know what, my build orders are good, I just need to control those armies a little better.
And he is going to be going for an extremely early command center right here. And down goes the Nexus as well. That was not a command center first build here, as it is going to be a couple of barracks, and going to be following this up with a couple of refineries right now, which is going to be completely standard here. So it does look like it's going to be, yeah, ThorZain doing something similar to what he's done before. We'll see if he decides to put in 2 SCVs into that gas. But for now, I think, you know, it's nothing too crazy here. I don't think we're going to be seeing a Starport with a Banshee or anything like that, but I never know when watching ThorZain, man. He's got a lot of different builds.
Yeah, I would hope that ThorZain would follow it up with some sort of weird craziness where he ends up actually doing the Teja style of just blasting someone to death with tons and tons and tons of mid-game barracks units, but I just don't see ThorZain really favoring that style. I mean, he does have the 3 in the gas yet again, and there he's going for Reactor Tech Lab yet again, but there's really not the huge mineral focus that I guess I'd say Protosses are really lacking in. And I think that is the main reason why ThorZain has been having, or excuse me, why HasuObs has been having so much effectiveness against ThorZain. Hasu is just under no pressure in the early mid-game stages.
And it's very important to be doing that in TVP, just because, I mean, we've already seen it happen. Once the Protoss player gets up that huge ball and gets up cannons, even High Templar for defense can feedback medevacs. Drops do not really become a viable option at the later stages, and especially on this map, I've seen a lot of Protoss players able to force it into the late game, which is exactly what they're going to want here. And I gotta love this out of HasuObs. Even though he's not technically scouting anything, he's looking for all sorts of hidden tech, any sort of proxy, anything he possibly can, using that Stalker up in the north side now, as he has basically explored the entire map at this point and seen that there is nothing that is going to take him by surprise. If you actually do the vision of Hasu, you can see that he has scouted the entire left side, and anything that would be on the right side that he has to scout is only going to be expansions, which is not as direly important here. So Hasu being very, very on point. I feel like he's definitely in his groove right now, and probably feels on top of the world after defeating ThorZain in mid and late games so far.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be doing your build with confidence, and that always shows. I think that there's a number of telltale signs that you can start picking up on in ThorZain's shoes right now if you got the appropriate scan down, or if you just put on a little pressure at the front. You could easily take a third base right now as ThorZain. Even though it's very, very early, you obviously want to build the command center within your main base, but ThorZain just has to begin doing something big. It's too much. I guess I describe ThorZain's build order as like following Lego instructions, you know, for like how you build your Legos. But, you know, I think every person who got some Legos knows there comes a point where you just understand what you want to do with the Legos, and you got to do that. But, you know, in ThorZain's shoes, he's getting his barracks, he's getting his upgrades, and then he's pushing with the medevacs, then he's pulling back and expanding. There's no dynamic decision making. There's no, oh hey, here's a weak point, let me really drill him with this Marine medevac Marauder drop. I mean, we saw him do it like once in game number 1 and then never do it again.
And I think you are absolutely right, Day 9, especially with HasuObs going for the double forge, double upgrades, double chrono boost. Once again, taking a bit of a risk here, trying to get those out early. But to be completely honest, it's kind of like the reverse for TVP as it is for TVZ or PVZ, where Protoss versus Zerg wants to do economic damage. Versus Terran, the Terran player wants to do economic damage here. Because if Protoss can sit back, he's got to get way ahead in upgrades. His tech, again, all tier 3. And what tier 3 unit can ThorZain use here? I mean, Ghost isn't really tier 3. You're not going to be seeing Thors or battle cruisers, so...
But that's interesting. We see a Ghost Academy going down right away. This could be a timing push, but going to be a difficult timing push to hit. He has to start making the Vikings right now. He has to start making the Ghosts very early. And finally, we see the concussive shell being started before like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and even now at the 10-minute mark, I mean, it's just so impressive to me how long these Terran players will delay that concussive shells upgrade because they're getting combat shield stim, plus they just need that gas early on for what we're seeing right now. You mentioned medevac production needs to begin. It is now just starting up, has not secured a third base at all. Double Ghost production starts right now, and is he going to be going for a drop? I mean, it's only 2 medevacs here, so he can't really pressure the front and double drop. He is going to have to, I think, just try and beef his way up here. Could actually go for killing these rocks off. That's only going to take probably about 10, 12 seconds to do that. But with Colossus splash damage, you definitely have to back out and retreat right now. But the Ghost's going to be here pretty soon. I just don't know if 1 or 2 EMPs is going to be the most useful versus this army composition.
ThorZain getting a freaking second starport. I mean, it's weird. ThorZain's... the general description of his play is just low on the barracks count. He's just going to go a lot of Vikings, a lot of Ghosts, a lot of upgrades. Maybe get some Marine Marauder in there a little bit. I guess that explains kind of why he just doesn't like doing drops that much, but yeah. Still, where is the pressure from ThorZain? This frontal attack is going to have to do wicked damage.
And, you know, that's just kind of how TVP shapes up here, while HasuObs so far has been doing a lot of defensive play and able to hold on. I mean, even in the second game, yes, it was shorter, but it still relied on good defense versus any timing attack that ThorZain could have thrown at him. We do have the +2 armor on the way now, +2 attack following it up just moments later, and ThorZain is only at 1 attack, almost 1 armor, which is going to be okay for him in the next about 60 seconds, but he's going to be way behind on that 2-2, especially since I think he still only has 1 engineering bay. We've seen him go this style many times in the past, whereas opposed to, you know, compared to Teja, where Teja goes for super early double engineering bays, almost seems like he would just keel over and die because he's spending so much money on those in the early game, but it pays off in the late game. So now currently tied technically on those upgrades, but the Ghost count going to start raising itself here, although he only has 2 Ghosts right now and is relying more on the more meaty Viking, Marine, and Marauder.
Now, how is he going to begin applying pressure? I mean, HasuObs has a clear positioning that he's going to be doing. He's just bouncing up and down and trying to make sure that he's monitoring whether there's going to be any aggression swinging up that side. But now that he's identified that there's really nothing coming, he's going to start slowly wiggling his way, and you see him pulling his entire army back to his third. I mean, the positioning of HasuObs is just amazing. He is so active with that army. And now ThorZain, gosh, is just getting up to 1-shot status. He's going to get up to, what, 16 Vikings and begin blasting down those Colossus. And this is exactly the angle that he wants. If he sees that and scans it, he can pick off 2 of those Colossus right away.
Unfortunately, though, the Watchtower was grabbed there. And as you're mentioning, Hasu being very active with his army. He's going to back up and does get the Observer there. over his army. That's not that big of a deal because I don't think, yeah, he doesn't have Ghost Cloaking right now. So the Observers are just there to see the unit composition and positioning, more importantly. But regardless, he needs to kill the Colossus. HasuObs so far has them in the back of his army. That's exactly where he needs to keep them, especially with the upgrades. 2-2 just finishing up right now. He wanted to wait for that to be done. Hasu being so patient here. Now he knows he has an upgrade advantage, and if he can engage in the center of the map, it might actually favor him here. But he already knows he's ahead in upgrades, so he needs to be careful. It does blink away. Thankfully for him, he didn't misclick that horribly. Only losing one Stalker there, and that's going to be fine because, I mean, ThorZain, yes, he has double engineering bay, but his upgrades are way, way behind. Just now starting Zealot Lakes, though. But, you know, double upgrades gotta be nice. Both Ghosts go down. They do throw down some good EMPs here, but the force field's gotta be much, much better. Pushing that army into those Zealots, into the Meat Grinder. Down go the Colossus. But does ThorZain have enough to commit here?
I think ThorZain managed to break down the key pieces to the army. A single Colossus did manage to retreat all the way back with just 4 health remaining. Incredible control by HasuObs. Now we see it immediately re-engaging the army, and it's going to get a couple of key swipes against that Marine Marauder troop, immediately pulling back. The Viking at the north will manage to take the Colossus down, but in this extremely close exchange, I think that Hasu might barely do it. Oh gosh, what a trade.
Yeah, very intense battle there. That's the 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th time we've seen this in this series so far, with very equal trades there. ThorZain not going to be happy that he wasn't able to kill the expansion, but he does have his own 3rd base up here fully saturated. The Hasu's expansion looks a little less saturated, but is going to be nearly there in just a moment. And 6 gas for Protoss is great, whereas adding on a bunch of gas for Terran, I mean, it's not going to get you like a ridiculous amount of high gas units. You're not going to be getting a lot of Psystorm, for example, like Protoss can, a lot of Archons. So getting that 6th gas isn't as important. Of course, it's still great for the upgrades, but it's going to be the minerals that he really needs. Dropping all the mules at that 3rd base. And is he going to be able to secure a 4th base here, or do you think he should try and end the game on his 3 bases?
I think ThorZain still is in a position where he needs to put on a little bit of pressure. He needs to do one more shove and secure a 4th base. In the first game that was so long and so epic, ThorZain was pretty much unable to secure more bases than the Protoss opponent. And right now with ThorZain playing so far back, I understand that he's adding on the barracks and wants to replenish his ghost count, but he has to start getting the expansion lead. He has to start locking down on the Protoss expansions, because right now Hasu has got to do whatever the heck he wants. There's just no pressure on Protoss.
Now we do have the High Templar finally warping in, Psystorm just finishing right there, and the Dark Shrine also on the way. That does allow you to get Archons investing more minerals as opposed to the very, very valuable gas that you're going to want to be using for Psystorm. 3-3 finally on the way for ThorZain, but still an upgrade advantage now for HasuObs as he's going to continue not only to already be ahead, but he can also continue chrono boosting those there. And we do see ThorZain building it at the 4th base here. This is the one with the rich Vespene Geyser, so very easy to saturate it. It's very low on minerals as well, only 6 patches there, as opposed to a lot more like 8, for example, as a normal expansion. But regardless, we do see the Viking count getting kind of high again, mixing in the Ghosts as well. And I feel like ThorZain, as far as his unit composition, is very smart about what he gets. And the biggest weakness is just he can't delay this tech ever. He can't kill a Dark Shrine, for example, because he's never dropping.
Uh-oh, it looks like he's just starting up. And God, ThorZain has some sort of special eye that can scan the screen himself, and then he just scans it with the units if he needs. 3-3 finally finishing up for Hasu. And again, we're starting to see these pylons just peppering around the map where he can easily do some sort of counterattack warping if he needs be. 74 workers for Hasu, around 60 for ThorZain. Another DT swing onto the 3rd side, but man, ThorZain is just phenomenal at spotting these. Well, not that one, but in general.
There we go. The missile turret, though, is in position. Should be able to hold it off. It's delaying gas mining here a little bit. You can see ThorZain is getting a little bit low on gas, but he has got to invest that money right now. Both these players actually hovering a surprising amount of resources here, and ThorZain does have the ability to spend this money. He's just actually not producing any units right now. He does have good upgrades. There's the Viking production going to start kicking in, and there we go. Finally brings in the Marines as well, so this will help him get maxed out. But right now, I mean, Hasu hasn't lost a single base, hasn't denied mining, can just add on more and more gateways here. And even though a game may look even, if you look at the units lost tab, it's all going to come down to upgrades and the fact that Hasu can just add on so many more gateways, which he's doing right now, and reinforce much more quickly than ThorZain.
Now, ordinarily, at this point in the game, what you would see older Hasu would do is just sit and chill and expand and try to get good engagements. But we're seeing Hasu start to force little bits of chipping. He's leading with the Blink Stalkers and sending a DT here, a DT there, doing some Zealot warp-ins. And now that he has his money mix of Templar, Colossus, and most importantly, huge gateways back in the main, he does have a Warp Prism that is now moving across his main base. We'll be heading up to the north side. And this is something that has given so much trouble to ThorZain in the past. And Hasu even killing off a couple of Zealots.
Yeah, not sure if we got a glimpse of that, but he does decide, hey, I need this supply for something else. We see Nitro packs because why not? As
yeah, this is the awesome late game transition that ThorZain does. He just gets a lot of speed Reapers as they can easily kite the Zealots. They kill them off much more quickly, and then he can begin doing raids on expansions.
That would be huge, especially since Protoss tends not to get that many cannons. We do see Hasu throwing down 1 or 2 at each expansion, but a small group of Reapers can easily clean that up. Viking production continuing here 4 at a time, and with 5 Colossus on the field, 15 Vikings. That's going to be quite a bit here, but once again, got to be able to basically one-shot those. He does have the +2 air attack. Observer speed going to be on the way right now, and we do have a Warp Prism going to be warping in right now, so we could be using that for reinforcement, potential for harassment here, and he does continue to try and harass the main base right there with those units. There's not a whole lot of money left in that main base. Is throwing down missile turrets here for ThorZain, but you know, right now, I mean, they're starting to get a lot of red and a lot of red expansions. So ThorZain, he's got to do something about it, but 6 Reapers.
Oh, the big push at the front, and it looks like a series of just general stimming, EMPing. Pushes it back briefly, but ThorZain has to make sure that those Vikings are at the front lines. He must pick off the Colossus.
One thing that's, oh wait, hang on, as it does look like right now Hasu wants to engage there, but you got to be careful in the planetary. That's going to be the Terran's strongest point on the entire map, as it will do a lot of splash damage to those Zealots. But also, one thing ThorZain needs to make sure to do is, in these battles, don't be microing his medevacs with his army. They need to be healing those ghosts. So far in the last battle, he's been moving them even though they aren't taking any damage, and those ghosts are going to be so important. So we do see a minor counterattack over here because Protoss player's maxed out. He's got a lot of money, so why the hell not? Is going to try and do some damage. No substantial damage being dealt here. He does, though, spot the Reapers. But Reapers with +3 attack, they can kill Zealots and buildings very quickly, but are also very fragile themselves, regardless of what their upgrades are. And here's the planetary. The Ghosts need to be careful. Don't do it again. ThorZain does throw out some nice EMPs. At this point, any damage dealt to those shields is going to help pay off. But at this point right now, I mean, Hasu still has center map control and is still looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, having the center map control, and most importantly, the control over the top and bottom bases, means that you will always slowly win a war of attrition. With all those Reapers out right now, ThorZain kind of also has control over the top and bottom expansion. So we see 8 freaking more gateways going down. I mean, look at Hasu's main. It's just there's so many gateways in his main base, he can't even, like, fit anything else.
A lot of Reapers on the field as well, but I love, as you're mentioning, Day 9, what he's doing with those gateways. This is how you have to do it. It's so saddening to see a Protoss player lose just because he didn't have enough gateways to reinforce. I don't know how many gateways this is, but it is multiple rows continuing to add on more gateways here. Almost has a full page, and the Reaper counterattack. I've wanted to see this in a pro-level game in basically forever, but unfortunately he does stop to kill the pylon, which is going to alert Hasu that the Reapers are down here. And no, ThorZain, you got to be so careful here. We'll be able to kite these Zealots for a little bit, but blinking forward, going to be able to engage favorably for Protoss. Does push that out, but need to be careful with those EMPs. Thought for a second he EMP'd all of his own guys, which would just be so sad. But more cannons here, just defending versus the Reapers. And Hasu, I love how he's even responding to the threat of a Reaper harass by adding on cannons at every single expansion.
Well, it's nice these Reapers are now having the opportunity to just clear out the south sides of the map. We see a Warp Prism going into the top, and we see more warp-ins of probes actually making their way to that bottom right side in the main base. DT has warped in, but there's just not enough supply to be able to deal with it. Look at those Speed Reapers immediately going up into the main base. What a cool response to Warp Prism harassment.
Yeah, definitely using them like Zerglings, but a big potential for an attack here in the center. Neither player wants to engage just yet. Could use this choke point favorably for Terran, as he was lining up those Colossus here with the Vikings, but the Warp-ins still continue in the main base, finally getting cleaned up here. ThorZain having to multitask here. Can he kill off the Colossus?
Oh!
Yes, he can, but a ridiculous storm on those Vikings. They are all in the orange. You can see immediately pulling out the SCVs. He knows he needs to repair these up and repair them right now. Setting up that auto repair is going to be huge, and this is, I thought, a planetary, but nope, it is going to be more and more orbitals. Lots of orbitals here out of ThorZain, as he knows I don't need SCVs as much as I need, oh, EMP right here on the main army.
Oh my god, he sees the Templar in the bottom left. Can he get them all? There's the Storm. 1 snipe, 2 snipe, 3 snipe. He gets every single Templar. That is now ThorZain's ticket to attack. We see 5, 6, 7, 8 more High Templar being warped in by Hasu. More rings of turrets in the main base. The Speed Reapers begin to step into action.
Wouldn't be surprised to see ThorZain try and push out here relatively soon, knowing that he's reduced the High Templar count substantially, although guess what, Day 9? There's 13 High Templar to follow that up. That's going to be a lot of Archons or Storm. Either way, going to be very, very good versus everything but those Ghosts. The Ghost count is starting to get really, really high, though, and does take out a Pylon down the bottom center, just trying to delay the harass, but Hasu just has such good map vision. If you give map vision, he can actually see over half the map right now.
This is a weird composition from ThorZain. I mean, just saying it out loud. 18 Marauders, 20 Marines, and that's it. But then 20 Vikings, 17 Ghosts, 10 Reapers. I mean, it's kind of insane what has been the choice for ThorZain. I mean, he's just doing these really fragile, mega damage-dealing units.
Need to be careful here from both players, though. I mean, the Reaper counterattack's always a threat. Not as big of a threat as some of the other things we've seen. Actually, just one-shotting a Zealot there. Yes, so many. The Reapers do get stormed, but they're pretty fast. They can chase that down. ThorZain just continuing this Reaper harass. But, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, he's got to be able to engage this army at some point in a straight-on confrontation, as there's no way he can really... Well, he could kind of drop the main, I suppose, as there's so much production. I don't know if that's going to end up doing enough damage. And once again, we see HasuObs being cost-effective. Also, getting, while he has lost more resources, he has way, way more bases and way more money in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a close spot, but the weird thing to me is the army tab. I mean, ThorZain at over 10,000 in his resources. Hasu at, what, 5,000? I mean, it's like half as much. ThorZain has an absolutely ridiculously expensive army. I mean, you thought Broodlord Infestor was expensive. Well, Mr. ThorZain has more than that. Another 8 gateways warping in right now for Hasu. The instant these armies trades, Hasu is going to be warping in around 30 to 40 Zealots immediately and then doing a follow-up.
Yeah, Hasu does have a control group of 22 gateways, but he's adding on even more than that right now. So that is able to warp in, you know, almost 60 supply in units with 1 warp in. So that's going to play a huge role in the upcoming battle, where it starts forcing ThorZain to have to be able to win a battle very decisively, or be able to save up a lot of money to begin reinforcing himself. He's got to do one of the two things. The Reapers have not done the initial damage that they need to. They haven't really been able to kill an expansion. They've kind of denied the expansion in bottom center from going down, but that's just keeping him barely on equal footing, because he's currently down a base. Does kill off those pylons once again. I think right now Hasu's just going to attack with probes, realizing, hey, Day 9 said that my army doesn't have enough units in it, so he's going to go ahead and sacrifice those, which will open up a couple more supply. Fits another Colossus in there, 3 more. Mancers, what are you doing, Vikings? Need to get back home. But, God, these players are just so passive, Sean.
Well, it's interesting that both of them are trying to do somewhat aggressive attempts, but they're taking 0 risks. This is probably the biggest risk we've seen Hasu take, and he'll lose a grand total of 1 Zealot, and then maybe get into a good Storm position. It's so difficult to continue to control things this well. A Raven now under construction for ThorZain, and it looks like he's getting, oh my gosh, a Fusion Core. Oh! And we see 3 more Ghost Academies. He's going to be going for nukes. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, going for nukes, I think, is the much better option. You can't go for too many battle cruisers. Even killing off more and more Zealots here right now, as, you know, it's basically going to be raining down nukes here in just a moment. The first nuke is going to be on the way, and followed up by 3 more. I think that's a better choice than battle cruisers, because feedback can just make battle cruisers almost worthless. But such weird, awkward battles here. Trying to engage up here in the center. Need to be careful with the Ghost right here, though, as they are left completely alone. Where's the army? Oh, big splash damage on those Ghosts. Still not getting a complete victory there for either player, but is able to take out 1 Colossus. It's just really going to come down to
double planetary trying to warp in at the bottom. Oh, an incredible pick off on the pylon. And now it looks like Hasu's going to have to be doing some retreating. These Speed Reapers are just amazing at this point in the game.
DT right there, going to get cleaned up by the Reapers there in the center. The double planetary is almost done, but guess what? Moving up here in the top center, the expansion guy get taken out. Big storms being thrown down, and they do a lot of damage to those Vikings. They're all in the red and orange right there. That's a devastating loss, but more devastating is going to be the double command centers getting taken out here easily. ThorZain has his opponent out of position, but another storm, and he's unable to commit to this base until just now. And I feel like he may have just lost way too many Vikings. We do have 4 battlecruisers. I don't know about that, Day9. What do you think about battlecruisers?
Well, right now, the real problem for ThorZain is that he's losing his current army. He doesn't have a good defensive position. He's going to barely pick off this Nexus, but he's going to have to shoot and run. Oh, he whiffed it, and there's the nuke. Where's the scan? It looks like he sees, but it looks like he's forced into this engagement. He's going to lose all of these Vikings, and HasuObs is simply just going to walk out of the way.
The nuke is going to come down, though. Nice dodge. No, he runs into it, then dodges it again, so was able to pull that one off. But that nuke was almost devastating. But Day9, I think he was keeping those Vikings there to protect the Ghost, hoping the nuke was going to land. But now there's still Colossus, and there's no Vikings. 4 Vikings, 4 battlecruisers on the way. I love what ThorZain's trying to do here, but I don't think I've ever seen battlecruisers work in these positions. The Nexus has 10 HP, which means those probes can mine at full capacity. I love rhymes, but it does look like right now unable to kill whatever base number that is, and he needs to lower that number substantially because he's just got no money.
I mean, there we see the large engagement beginning now. Hasu instantly steps into the action. Some big EMPs rip down every little bit of shields those front lines have. And the battlecruiser trying to get into a good angle, but Hasu realizes that most of the units for ThorZain are building right now. 8 Vikings in production, and there's the vulnerable side right there. You can get the Vikings in at a good angle and start to just take down the Colossus, but man, Hasu is really patient with these engagements.
And there is going to be a bunch of Zealots attacking these Ghost Academies. That's going to be less and less nukes right now. I think there are no nukes in the game remaining, so that could have been the only nuke we're going to see this entire time. But there's a High Templar over here at the 3rd base. Looks like something trying to attack the 4th, but he could storm these units. Not that there's a whole lot left there, but at this point, I mean, ThorZain needs everything he can get because while he has money now, he's having a difficult time getting his army to the size that he needs. The Stalker's retreating for now, but the Colossus relatively safe. You're going to be working down that planetary. Colossus have a very difficult time killing it off directly, but the Vikings fly in here. Got to be able to push these Colossus back. Can he do the damage he needs to? Storm after storm, killing off all the Vikings, almost able to do substantial damage, but every single one is now dead. And the army, I mean, it's just looking so fragile here for ThorZain. He may have lost too much. Those Zealots still going to town in that natural. But, I mean, once ThorZain begins production, once again, he's got to be just running out of money and running out of it quick. Battlecruisers up in front, feedbacks go down, and I think this is going to be it, Day9.
Oh, it looks like Hasu trying to get into a good angle, and it looks like he has it. The arc is huge. The Colossus continue to step forward. 3 Colossus now on the field. ThorZain tumbles down to 92. Hasu is at 150 himself, but now in the main base, we see charging right up the ramp. Can he pick down even one of the Colossus? He does get a single one, but there's just too many gateway units trundling forward. Fully charged Templar, Stalkers, Zealots, even sentries being warped in from Hasu, and he has taken down the front.
He knows he's advancing right now as he is just going to be placing those pylons down. These are not manor pylons. These are just reinforced immediately pylons. And right now, it looks like ThorZain may get eliminated in a crazy series, even though it was 3-0. We saw some very close 1st and 3rd games. And there's the GG out of ThorZain.